You're listening to the Light Novel Podcast. Visit us online at lightnovelpodcast.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Light Novel Podcast. On this episode, we're going to be talking about some recent acquisitions by J Novel Club, 6 to be exact, 2 of which they also got the manga for them. They announced this stuff on April 2nd, so it'll probably be about a week and a half, 2 weeks by the time this goes live. But you know what? There's enough of them that we thought we'd talk about them. And I think at least some of us on here have checked out 1 or 2, tried to see what we could read for the releases that they have on J Novel Club already. So I'm Justice R. Stone, and with me tonight I have Jean-Luc.
Hello! I hope the sun shines as much as it does over here.
I have Mirage.
Good evening.
For once, Mirage is actually doing this at a reasonable time. And I have Terrence.
What's up?
Unfortunately, the other members have either not able to make it because they're busy or they're having technical difficulties. So, so we're going to be covering, as I said, the 6 licenses that J Novel Club did, the light novel licenses. There was another announcement that J Novel Club made. That is going to be our next episode. We thought it might be best to try and split them up. And also, we're going to try and get somebody from J Novel Club on the show to talk about it, because it's kind of a cool and different thing that they're doing. But we won't spoil that episode by talking about it right now. So, first up, the one that they announced was Reincarnated as the Piggy Duke. This time, I'm gonna tell her how I feel. This is by Rhythm Aida with illustrations by nauribon. In the popular anime Shuya Marionette, there is a character whom everyone looks upon with scorn, the so-called Piggy Duke, third son of Duke Denning and a student of Kirsch Mage Institute. This can only spell doom for the current slow Denning, who knows he's been reincarnated into the world of that anime as said villain. There is a ray of hope, however, if he uses his in-depth knowledge of the anime and his unparalleled power as a master of all the elements. Surely Slow can gain popularity with his peers and change his fate. Perhaps this time he can make the one small wish that never came to fruition in the anime come true, to become a man worthy of Charlotte, his retainer, and to confess his love to her. Now, Mirage, how many volumes does this have in Japan?
10 so far.
So far, 10.
Yeah.
That's a pretty hefty series right there.
Last one came out in November 2020.
So still well ongoing, eh?
Probably.
All right.
I didn't see anything saying that it was the last volume.
All right.
I didn't either.
Cool. Did any of you guys get a chance to check this one out?
Yes, I've read the first 3 parts.
Okay. And what do you think?
Yeah, so far it's a very enjoyable read.
Okay.
The basic premise, I'm going to talk a bit about something that's in the first 2 parts, so it's probably not much of a spoiler. This character that he's reincarnated as, he's in the blurb, he's called a villain, but he's more a tragic hero in reality, because what he tells us is that he only played the bad guy because he is a high noble, and this retainer he's in love with, he couldn't marry her because of difference of standing. So he tried to be this fat slob of a man so he get disowned by his family, so he could be together with her. This is the one thing that I think is not really thought through, because
no, not really, huh?
But if you get beyond this as a basic premise, the rest of it was pretty good so far.
Well, okay. Now here's the thing, though, and I mean, I don't know how this society works, but maybe his thinking is that if he's outside of the ranks of nobility, she, because she is high ranked, can choose who she wants to be with because it's not like there's no politics.
She's not high ranked. She's his attendant. She is a noble from a fallen kingdom, but here in this kingdom she has no noble rank.
Okay, so she's lower on the pole than him?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, you know what? You know why I got confused? Because I thought when I said his retainer, I thought it meant that he was a retainer to her, but it's actually she's a retainer to him.
Yes.
He took her, okay.
He took her in when her kingdom fell, and has been in love with her ever since. And to get out of his noble status to be able to be with her, that's why he overate and tried to be as much of a disgrace to his family as possible. So this is usually not the kind of way you get the girl, and that's one thing that he might have considered before.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, but I saw people like mess up their job just to get fired on purpose. So
well, yeah, no lie, right? It's happened.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, you know what? That's a different take on it than what you're right.
Yeah.
Like the synopsis makes it sound more like, that he's a villain, he's being a bad guy, but really, like, yeah, it's actually kind of sad. Really, he's much more sympathetic.
Yeah, but in the anime, he says that is something that is only revealed at the very end.
Oh, okay, interesting. Huh. Well, all right,
So
cool.
at the beginning of this novel, he just starts to eat less, work out, try to be nice to people, try to make friends with, which is difficult because all the others are avoiding him because he's been such an asshole up to that point.
Okay, so basically he's just a Piggy Duke at the beginning.
Yeah, obviously I'm still at the beginning as well. So 3 parts in, he hasn't managed to lose that much weight. There's another side character, a commoner girl who is also at the academy, who he has helped training with magic. So she seems to be a bit friendlier towards him. Not sure if it's going to go a harem route. Maybe not. He seems to be pretty set on this Charlotte girl.
Given that the subtitle of the whole series is "This Time I'm Gonna Tell Her How I Feel," it would kind of take a big dump on the series if it went like a major harem route.
Yeah, maybe, but it's a light novel, so
fair enough.
You never know, and I wouldn't bet too high against it.
The gripe I have against like light novel is oftentimes they just put like a big title that like the synopsis is the title, but like it tells you. Well, not it tells you, but it tries to grab you and pull you inside the story for a certain specific reason. In that case, like he's being like overweight, and that would maybe give him difficulty getting the girl and everything. So, like that's a relatable situation. So it will draw in certain people, and then after a few chapters, you completely change. Like you change the main character. Oh no, it was just like to like a clickbait, and after that you just go sidetrack. And like a lot of those like light novel, some of them do that, some don't, but some do,
I know what you mean.
It's a bit
like you read the title and you think that you're gonna get this sort of sweet romance about a guy trying to better himself, and that he's going to finally find a way to tell this girl he loves her. And then like you get halfway through the first book and it's a harem and he's an asshole and like, you know what I mean? Like, I get what you're saying exactly. Like, it's like that bait and switch all the time. It was like the same thing as like, well, how I felt when I read Ari Ferretta and I was like, oh my God, a power male fantasy where the dude is only in love with one girl and only has one girl in his party. This is awesome. Yeah, not so much. It only took about 10 pages into book 2 to throw that out the window.
Not to start any discussion about Sword Art Online.
Oh, well, yeah. Nope. We're not going to start a conversation about Sword Art Online. But I mean, you know what? I bet you if this has any kind of harem aspect to it, it'll be like the Sword Art Online thing, right? Where it's like the dude is always in love with only the one girl, but all the other girls are in love with him. And, you know, they treat it almost like he's just oblivious to them. You know what I mean? Like it's still kind of like a harem because they're all in love with him, but he only has eyes for the one girl.
Yeah.
I could see it going that way.
If this one will go this route, then it's going to take a long while because right now people are still avoiding him like
hey man, like, 10 volumes.
And handing over their money if he looks at them wrong or something like that.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right. We'll move on to the next one. That is the sidekick never gets the girl, let alone the Protag's sister. This is by Toshizo with illustrations by U35. Then Kunugi Ko waged bloody warfare as a hero in another world. Now he's a perfectly average high schooler with a perfectly exceptional best friend, Ayase Kaito, the living incarnation of every cheesy rom-com protagonist ever written. Kaito's charming personality and looks that could kill have earned himself the harem of quirky beauties that every protagonist deserves. And Ko is dead set on supporting him from the shadows as the ultimate wingman extra. And it's all going great. That is, until a wrench is thrown into the works in the form of another rom-com staple, the protagonist's little sister, Ayase Hikari, who meets Ko under the most outlandish of circumstances possible. Even worse, it kinda sorta just maybe seems like she might have a thing for him. Now it's up to the world's most extra to crawl his way back into the obscurity he longs for. And Mirage, how many volumes does this one have now?
This has only 2.
And I think is it done?
It might be done. Both came out in 2019.
Right. So either the author plowed out 2 and then is taking a hiatus, or they're done. Okay.
Maybe it was abandoned, but I'm not sure if JNC would have picked it up if it was abandoned.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm wondering. Like, I'm like,
but why they did for Desmond to Duke's daughter, so you never know.
Yeah, they definitely have picked up things like that are abandoned, but they had plot premises they thought people might like. So I'm not gonna put it past them. And like this one, it does kind of appeal to that whole like with Imo Uza, my friend's sister, is only annoying to me one. Like it kind of has a similar
there's no way a side
sister thing.
There's no way a side character like me can be popular, right? Yeah, like this is almost the premise.
Sounds almost exactly like this one, except for this
the weird isekai element.
Yeah. I'm not sure what this is about.
What the hell is that?
Did you read this one, any Mirage?
No, I was about to skip this one because I already read this little sister from Tentai, and this one sounded just too similar to read both of them at the same time.
So I did read the part 1 for this one.
All right.
So the interesting part is that part at the end, sort of him wanting to kind of go into obscurity and wanting to be the side character. So at the beginning of the story, basically, you get to see what happened in the isekai, which was, this main character, he ends up killing the archdemon or whatever. Like, you get to see the end of the isekai, basically.
Okay.
And as he's killing the archdemon, he's kind of remembering everything that went wrong in the isekai. A lot of his friends died. It's kind of confusing, like to figure out which characters were which, but I believe the archdemon was his best friend. And the archdemon had a vision for like the world, to use magic for good or something like that. Anyways, humanity had another idea. You can kind of imagine maybe what might have happened. Like, I could see it being like, the kingdoms decided against that. Maybe they decided to like kill, some of the people close to him to keep them, down or whatever. Anyways, long story short, that guy's, his friend's sister, I believe, dies, which was also his girlfriend. And then this Balrog guy decides he's going to kill humanity, kind of take revenge, so he turns himself into the archdemon. And then our protagonist ends up he's the hero, so he has to kill basically his best friend, and he kills him, and that's kind of how the isekai ends. And this whole thing kind of traumatizes the main character, so it traumatizes him into wanting to avoid being a protagonist. So that's the setup for the story.
That I was gonna say that is the most confusing bullshit ever.
That's why when Sam presented this one, he said it is very, you gotta, like I didn't listen to it because I'm like, I don't want to be spoiled, but he was like, okay, this setup is kind of a little confusing. But yeah, again, they do this like very quickly at the start. And you're like, I don't know who these characters are, I don't know what's going on. But when you get to the end of the part, like it makes a little more sense, I feel like.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Like, from my understanding, like, is it like just him that's reincarnated, or like everyone in the isekai is reincarnated in the modern world?
So I'm not sure. Like, I don't think they've revealed enough yet to say if there's anybody else. But I believe his friends in the isekai just died. There was one friend or like one buddy that he said, okay, go find help or something. So I'm sure they might show up later. But as far as I know, the human character's a human, and they don't really know about what's going on with him.
I have to give the author points that he didn't just make another main protagonist who thought that he was the side character because he's ugly or because he's scary. I'll give him credit at least for trying to come up with the most outlandish way that somebody would desperately not want to be popular. But damn, that's just sounds wacky.
Yeah, I don't know. It works for me. Like, I don't know. I find it interesting, like, that, obviously he's kind of unwittingly getting onto a route. At one point, the basic setup was he ends up saving the sister from, some old, pedophile or something stupid. Anyways, he punches him, he kicks him out, and then his plan originally was just to call the police over, but he saw this guy and he's just like, all right, I gotta knock him out. And then he's talking with the little sister. He doesn't know it's his friend's sister, and he ends up giving his a friend's name as who he is, basically to get away from the situation. He's like, oh yeah, my friend's popular, once she meets him, she'll, fall in love with him or whatever.
Oh my God.
And then later on, of course, he finds out that, it's his sister when he goes to his friend's house. And that brings back a little trauma for him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And so he ends up running away from the situation. And obviously it's going to become kind of dealing with you can't run from, reality. Like you've got to face it at some point.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, like I said, I'll give him points. I mean,
yeah. The only thing I don't like is it is set, I think they set it up in the story that there's a big harem that his best buddy has. It's all very cliche characters, and I'm sure they're all going to be interested in our side character, like deep down or something. And yeah, like we were talking about, the previous one is probably going to become or could become a harem. This one probably is a harem.
Okay.
We'll find out what happens.
Oh,
Well,
jeez.
if it's only 2 books, I'm in. Like, if it's on hiatus or it's eventually gets super longer, or if it's not finished, I won't initially bother. But if it's a short series, I'm all for a short series since I'm busy with lots of stuff. So.
Yeah, well, no, and I mean, again, like, you know, it's the kind of premise that as long as it doesn't overstay its welcome, it could be okay, right? All right, so next up we have Guide to the Perfect Otaku Girlfriend, Roomies and Romance. This is by Rin Murakami with illustrations by Mako Tatekawa. If I'm going to find a girlfriend, she has to be an otaku. She'll be beautiful, innocent, with long black hair, and she'll like all the stuff that I like. Kokoro Nishina, the girl I'm living with, is the exact opposite of that. So why did I promise that I'd turn that flashy, extroverted Gyaru into the ideal otaku girlfriend? Sadly, I know just how it feels to need a little self-improvement to find the perfect date, and there's no way a girl like that will tell her friends that she's actually a closet fujoshi. But I'll teach her. Then maybe she can teach me too. With my expertise, she'll definitely become an otaku's dream girl. If this doesn't work, I'll kill you. It will work. And anyway, who doesn't love a virgin killer outfit?
Oh my god. This is too much.
Oh god.
Yes. This one I'm not going to touch with the 10-foot pole.
Oh shit. How many volumes does this have?
5.
I think it has 6. Oh, 5.
Five.
Okay, 5.
Okay,
maybe 6, but volume 5 came out in May 2020.
So it's been almost a year.
So maybe there was just a recent release.
Or maybe it's done.
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe.
Okay, so we should definitely pick the first volume and do a podcast. Like, it will be hilarious.
Oh my god. We'll just, you know what? We just have to find like we'll edit it all down. But you know, we should do like a 6-hour podcast, like sit down for 6 hours with each other and we'll all just live read it. And then we'll just like cut out the best parts and splice it together for like anyway. Oh my god though. Like wow. I don't like I just there's a lot to unpack with this one, man.
I don't read that fast, but yeah, that would be cool.
Holy. Can you imagine? Like, oh my god, what the hell is going on? And like, does he not like I mean, my first question is he's saying he needs an otaku girlfriend, and now this girl he's living with wants to be an otaku girlfriend. Like, my obvious logical leap is, dude, she's hot for you. Like,
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't. Okay, anyway. Like, I just
like, why would she do that? Like any other way?
I don't like that. Like, I have so many questions. I don't even know where to start. Okay, yeah. Why is he living with her? Like, how old are these people? I don't know. Anyway. Jesus.
I just looked at the description for volume 5 on Amazon JP, and it's not obvious that it's ending here.
Okay.
They seem to be in a relationship, but they seem to be in a relationship at the beginning as well. So
who knows?
Yeah, but
probably I'll probably collect this one.
Yeah,
so the pretty much buy any rom-com.
Those 5 volumes came out about 4 to 5 months apart. So this one is now 11 months. So
it's likely that it's either on hiatus, it's done, or it's been canceled. One or the other.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see. Oh man, wow, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah. Should I do like hate reviews? I don't know. Okay.
I like hate reviews.
I don't think you need to do an hate review. Like it just, I think it will just be like an hilarious review. Like
yeah, it'll just be like, you know what? It'll be one of those ones that as long as you walk in knowing that you're about to read like a burning dumpster fire, it's probably okay. I don't know. You know what? I could be wrong. It could be a brilliant work of literature. I have no idea. All right. So coming up next, this one is a J-novel Heart title, so a more shoujo type title. The Emperor's Lady in Waiting is wanted as a bride. This is by Kanata Satsuki with illustrations by Yoru Ichige. Katora was once a valiant knight of the Razanate Empire who gave her life to protect a young imperial noble. The tragedy cast her into the primordial light of origin, which not only revealed to her a dangerous secret, but also reincarnated her. She now lives as Lise Winslet, the humble daughter of a poor baron in a neighboring country, who is doing everything in her power to keep her distance from the Empire because of the forbidden knowledge she possesses. Lise thus works her days away at the royal palace of Olwen as a lady-in-waiting, and she's rightfully mortified when she's chosen to attend the visiting Razanate Emperor. Little does she know that she's about to learn another state secret that's going to land her an engagement to an imperial knight? She'll have to use all her skills from this life and her last to get out of this mess. Yet, what is this strange feeling when she touches her fiancé's hand? Just who is Sidis and what secrets is he keeping? And just as a side note, they did also license the manga of this series. How many volumes this one have, Mirage?
4. And this one might actually be finished because on the cover of the 4th one, you see a wedding. So
so it looks like it may have actually finished. That would be nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it actually seems like a serious one for change.
Like it's kind of interesting. Like, I mean, obviously it sounds like it's not quite that whole isekai. It's that whole reborn in your own world, which I find interesting that she's been reborn in her own world, but with knowledge that she should not have. Like that kind of piques my curiosity a little bit.
So the knowledge it's not a big spoiler because it's right there in the prologue, more or less.
Oh, okay.
So when she saved this young noble, she fell into this holy light that nobody but the emperor can touch without dying, and she touched it and died. And she learned that it was not put there by God, but by someone else, which has not been revealed so far in the novel. And I'm not quite sure why she concludes from that she may never return to the Empire. She says she's afraid that she might accidentally let slip that she knows this horrible secret and might be persecuted for that. But it doesn't seem like something you reveal on accident to anyone.
Well, I mean, I can see where, I mean, if it's one of those items that is essentially like, oh, well, the emperor shows the emperor's chosen by God or something, and that's part of how he retains power. I can see where finding out that, no, it's not God could be a really big issue.
Not really, because the emperor seems to be pretty well in power. This empire is more or less the most powerful force on the continent because of that light. It grants magical powers to the people living close to it, and also attracts monsters. And
okay.
So the empire has the strongest warriors, and they protect all the surrounding countries. So all the surrounding countries are more or less indebted to the empire and reliant on it for protection. So the empire seems to be pretty benevolent, all things said and done. So they don't subjugate the other countries, but they are still
maybe it's the reverse of that she's worried that it would undermine people's faith in the emperor who has done a good job. Maybe could be it.
Maybe. So, but it's still it's not for me the problem is not that she might be persecuted for revealing the secret, but the fear that she might reveal it by accident.
Well, yeah. It doesn't seem to be one of those things that you would just go, hey guys, guess what? The magical light power that you all think is from God is from the devil. Like, I mean, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing you would just blurt out inadvertently. Fair enough.
It seems to be a bit of a reverse harem because this other secret that she learns is also in chapter 1, so it's not a big secret that the emperor who is on a visit to the country she's now living in, he's been put under a bit of a curse, and he's only talking in doggy noises at the moment.
Okay, there goes the serious part. Okay.
Yeah. And for some reason, they seem to think that to make her keep the secret, she should be engaged to one of the emperor's aides, either his chancellor or this knight. And after a bit of deliberating, they choose the knight. I'm not quite sure who the one on the cover of Volume 4 is, who she's going to marry in the end. Might be either one of the three.
Who knows? Or none of them. It could be just a bait and switch cover, right? Oh my lord, that's
probably
funny.
not.
Well, probably not, but you know.
Yeah, but since these three Ikemen are the main love interests, and one of them apparently has noticed that she's the one that she's reincarnated as this former knight, and that's probably why he offered to be engaged to her immediately. But not quite sure, as she doesn't seem to have noticed that he noticed that she's been reincarnated. It's a bit complicated.
How do you notice that? I mean,
hey, I know who you were.
Yeah, apparently she has magic, though she can't use it, which is unusual for people around. And she when she first meets him, she lets slip something that might be interpreted as strange for someone, as her having known him before, or having known the emperor before.
Yeah, but even then, like, in my head, I would associate that to a spy and not someone reincarnated.
Well, no, it's pretty, it's okay. The line is believable.
Oh, okay.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
one thing maybe that she reincarnated about 100 years after her death, but the people living near the light are pretty long-lived, so the emperor is actually 150 years old, though he doesn't look older than 30.
Oh, okay. And so is this knight also like 100 years old then?
We don't know much about the history of the knight yet.
Because that would be creepy.
Yeah.
Hey, baby, so I'm 130 years old.
I assume that the knight is the young nobleman she saved as a kid.
Could be.
But that's not confirmed so far in the first 3 parts, but it would be one explanation why he's so attached to her.
Well, yeah, that would certainly be well, and I mean that would be par for the course with light novel.
So overall, I like this one quite well. So it's okay. It's a nice read, and I'm going to follow it. Yes.
I have found that most people, and myself included, of the ones that I've read, it seems like the J-novel Heart ones, most people seem to think are fairly decent. Like they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So
for me, it's been 50-50 so far.
Fair enough.
I still follow a few of them. A few I have dropped.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's I think we all probably hit that 50-50 mark with a lot of stuff.
50-50 is good.
I was gonna actually for an imprint. Yeah, it probably is. It probably is. All right. Next up, we have Reborn to Master the Blade, from Hero King to Extraordinary Squire. This is by Hayaken with illustrations by Nagu. From his deathbed, Hero King Inglis, the Divine Knight, and master of all he surveys, gazes down on the empire he built with his mighty hand. Having devoted his life to statecraft and his subjects' well-being, his one unfulfilled wish is to live again, for himself this time, a warrior's life he devoted himself to before his rise to power. His patron goddess, Alistia, hears his plea and smiles upon him, flinging his soul into the far future. Goddesses work in mysterious ways. Not only is Inglis now the daughter of a minor noble family, but at her first coming-of-age ceremony at 6, she's found ineligible to begin her knighthood. However, for a lady of Inglis's ambition, this is less a setback and more the challenge she was reborn to overcome. It's not the blood that runs through your veins that makes a knight. It's the blood you shed on the battlefield. The curtain rises on the legend of an extraordinary lady squire reborn to master the blade.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
For this one, we also have 4 volumes, and the last one came out in October, so it
probably
is
ongoing.
Probably still ongoing, yes.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, kind of remind me of the Wise Man Pupil.
Oh, yeah, I see. I can see that.
I thought about the one laying down the blade to master magic or something like.
Yeah, okay.
That's not the exact title, but this premise in reverse. In the other one, you had a master fighter who is reborn and wants to learn magic, and in this one you had the Holy Knight King, the Holy King who has this holy power, which is more or less a souped up version of mana, and he wants to become a warrior, with the difference that she's actually better warrior from the start than most others. In the first chapter, she blasts away a dragon with her holy power. No, it's not a dragon.
And she's a baby.
As a baby. She waits until everyone else is unconscious, and then she blasts away at this.
Oh my god!
I'm not quite sure what this creature is.
But essentially, it's a dragon.
It's
give or take.
Smaller dragon. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I think.
So then, what
is it? Fault of Fell Beast or something like that? Or something.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Okay. So what? Okay. Maybe it's a big spoiler, but if it happens early, I guess it's probably not.
I have only read three parts. So
okay. So what makes her ineligible to be a knight? I don't understand.
Yeah, in this world, these fell beasts, they can only be defeated with certain weapons, and to use these weapons, you need to have a rune on your hand. And when you come of age, there's this machine where you put in your hand, and it engraves the rune you are capable of using. So a special grade rune will mean you can use special grade artifacts and defeat giant monsters. And she doesn't get any rune at all.
Because she's already like OP
because
as ass.
she doesn't have mana, but this holy power, which is a souped up version of mana. And apparently in this time where she reincarnates, the people have lost the ability to use, or most people have lost the ability to use mana as spells. They can only use it with the help of these engraved runes. And because she has this holy power, then the machine doesn't know what rune to engrave her with, because, hey, you can use mana, why do you need a rune? Or something like that.
Okay,
so
all right.
It's not really. She's found ineligible to begin her knighthood. It sounds like she's prevented from going down that path. That's not it at all, because other people around her, they know that she's a good fighter, better fighter than most. So she's still allowed to be a fighter. She's just a squire and not a knight. So
because she supposedly can't wield a knight's holy weapon or whatever.
Yeah, so she's her cousin has a high grade, the second level of rune, and she's a squire to her cousin.
Okay.
Her brother, he actually has a special grade rune, the highest there is, but he's 6 years older than her, and he leaves for training quite early in the story, so mostly we see her her cousin.
All right.
So,
okay. Well,
and
all right.
there is this case of people living on floating cities, who more or less treat the who provide those runes for the lowlanders to fight, but in return they demand huge tributes and treat them like shit. And we just at the end of part 3 met one of those Highlanders, they are called, who just fries one of the soldiers because he wanted to defend a woman he wanted to coerce to spend the night with him. I assume that he will get his comeuppance in the beginning of chapter 4.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay.
So,
well, so there's a little more world building going on than what kind of the description is.
Yeah, this description can only go so far. In this.
Okay. So, okay. All right. So there's a whole bunch of different things going on with this. All right.
It's interesting. It has nice world building, and at least interested to see how it goes.
All right. Cool. All right. Excellent. Okay. And so the last one that they licensed, Villainess Reloaded, blowing away bad ends with modern weapons. This is by the 616th Special Information Battalion. Oh my god, you gotta love that effing username, seriously. With illustrations by Wuhuo. Wuhuo? 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 Whoa! Yeah. Well, when you see that size of that gun on the front cover, you are kind of like, whoa! Anyway, Astrid von Oldenburg is no ordinary 4-year-old. 4 people, let's just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
She's a child prodigy with a passion for military technology who now finds herself reincarnated in the world of an otome game she played during her past life, but not as the heroine, as the game's villainess. She's born with wealth, power, and a fearsome talent for magic. The only problem is that every route leads to her inevitable destruction. Or does it? What if averting her destruction was a simple matter of amassing enough firepower to annihilate anyone who dared even attempt to bring her down? In a bid to resist fate, the young villainess embarks on the reproduction of all of her favorite weaponry. Whatever it takes, Astrid's determined to blow away her bad ends with superior firepower.
I like this one. I want an anime right now.
Oh my god. They did also license the manga for this as well.
Mm-hmm.
The manga, like the cover looks so cartoony as hell. It made me laugh even more when I saw the cover of this. But
yeah,
okay.
but she looks more 4-year-old on the manga.
Well, she does. Yes, and I should point out that this is the same author as Her Majesty's Swarm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes,
which I have not read because I hate bugs, but I do understand that this author does not shy away from gore and violence.
Yeah.
And so this one.
So to start, I also have read Her Majesty's Swarm.
Okay.
I read all 3 volumes.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm subscribed for JNC, so it doesn't cost anything except for time. So for that, it was okay.
Okay.
It does. I don't want to talk too much about Her Majesty's Swarm.
That's okay.
It's a bit disappointing on the strategy side of things, because it's supposed to be this protagonist there is supposed to be a genius in strategy games, but you don't get the feeling from the novel at all. It has quite a few gory scenes, and the protagonist has little qualms to enact horrific deeds upon civilian populations.
Oh, good. Okay,
Mostly because she's forced, or she's a part of a hive mind which has an influence on her. So now coming to this one.
Just before that,
yeah,
Mirage, I have a question for you. Which is better, Her Majesty's Swarm or Emmet?
Oh, come on.
Very difficult question. I would still say Her Majesty's Swarm because it's at least a bit entertaining.
So harsh. Damn. I didn't even tweet. I have to be honest. I didn't even tweet out that we had done that podcast because I felt so bad. Like, I don't even want Cross Infinite World to know we did it. So we're gonna hope that one flies under the radar. Hopefully there'll be better things said about other Cross Infinite World titles. So
yeah, for Emmet, I just had problems slogging through. Her Majesty's Swarm is at least entertaining if you can get past the gore. For this one, I read a whole 2 pages of it before I dropped it hard.
Oh,
okay.
It starts out with the protagonist going on a rampage through the capital, slaying every person she meets. Civilians, children, soldiers, women, everyone. And there's one knight who confronts her, and he asks her, "How can you do this? Are you not human?" And she explains to him that no, she deactivated the section of her brain that contains her conscience, so she can do all these horrible things without any negative effects on her psyche. And
nice.
And that's when I stopped reading.
Oh man.
Yeah, I read a little further, so but yeah, it is like, it's ridiculous, and at times it definitely feels like it's trying to be parody. I don't know if it goes full on, but there are things that it just rips out of other stories. For instance, like Baccarina, like it totally rips out the whole talking to your consciousness to decide what to do next. And it's like it's a one-off line. Like, it's a one-off line, but it's clearly a callback to Baccarina. So in that way, I feel like it's supposed to be a little bit more, like, this is not supposed to be taken as seriously as I think Swarm. But then at the same time, it's like bloody and gory. Does that kind of go against that? Like, it can't be like a dark comedy. I think it might be more along that line. And like even like the things she comes up with end up being like Baccarina, but with guns. Like, she's like, okay, I need to become proficient, at something just in case I get exiled. I need to, become proficient at magic. I need to avoid anything that could be associated with a bad end. And then, I need to make guns using magic. And just to kind of let you know, it is definitely OP power fantasy, because she has an instructor who she's learning magic from, and he's basically just like, okay, envision a flame, and you can make magic. And so she just thinks of like, all right, I want like a giant, humongous flame. And then it's there. Like, there's not a whole lot to the magic system. It sounds like it is, there is an MP drain. So there is some kind of, something that's going to hold her back maybe for a little bit. Yeah. You can actually, one of the only, like, I guess, militarization kind of thing in this story, there's papers that you can put a magic incantation on. So if you're in the heart of battle, you don't have to think up your magic. You can just throw out this paper that already has the design of the magic on it. So you can throw out, an attack. In her case, she's probably going to just put like a schematic of a gun on a piece of paper and be able to make it. And that's where it gets kind of ridiculous. Or if it wasn't already.
Yeah.
Okay.
She can just ask like the earth spirit to make her a shotgun. Like, and she does it, she thinks about what a shotgun is made up of. And then the earth spirit actually pops out of the ground to like talk to her and be like, you put me through a lot of work here. You didn't give me, very good, whatever mental image of this thing, but I knew how to make it.
Jeez.
So it's definitely like over the top, and I think you can see that from the covers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I don't know if there will be like Mirage mentioned, it is gory and bloody, and she commits like genocide.
Yeah.
So does that go against the comedy element, or can it work as like a dark comedy?
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Like one thing that like it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like there are a lot of a title that just plays on certain element, and in particular the villainous, the multiple villainous light novel. Like when you're reincarnated into villain or villainess of a certain game, like you're not a villain or villainess, you become one. And in a lot of those light novels, like they don't have it in them to become villains, so they desperately tries to avoid the inevitable, but just being themselves, they will avoid what's in the game or what is prophesized. But in this one, it seems like she will become a villainess. So it seems like interesting.
Yeah. What made Swarm bearable to me was that the protagonist, she was aware that the being part of this hive mind was suppressing her emotions. She's trying to hold on to her humanity. Even though her emotions are suppressed, she also has an effect on the hive mind itself, and tries to influence the hive mind towards being positive. She has friendships among. She is able to form friendships with some individuals among the hive mind. I know this is a bit contradictory, and with normal humans. And she gets sad when those friends get hurt. So this makes Swarm at least interesting. You can root for the protagonist, even though she does horrific things, because she tries not to do them. She even though sometimes she's not successful. Here, it seems like it's the exact opposite. She has a conscience that tries to prevent her from doing war crimes, and she deliberately deactivates that conscience. And when I read this, I knew I would not be able to enjoy this story. I would not be able to enjoy this reading about this protagonist.
But she's a cute Lolita, so we can forgive it.
Oh, jeez.
That is one more thing on the negative list.
Okay, so this one, there are 3 volumes, I guess, in Japan.
Yes, last one came out in March 2020.
So now do we think... I know the 4th volume of Her Majesty's Swarm apparently is just about to be released in Japan, and we all thought that was over. So do we think this author's just, on a hiatus, or do we think this is the last one?
I don't know. Like, I feel like it could get another volume based on how long that other one took to get another volume.
Yeah.
And with Swarm, that publisher, like, I feel like that publisher is going out of business, because before that 4th volume of Swarm, I think their last volume release was in like November. So I think that publisher is going down. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but between Volume 2 and Volume 3, there were also 10 months. So this might just simply have a slower release schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like, if you go by, like, Her Majesty's Swarm, the third book came out in October of 2019, and the fourth one is just coming out in May of 2021. So
I'm a bit disappointed that Sam is not here today, because this is one thing I would have wanted to ask him if Her Majesty's Storm really did so good that he wanted to get one more title like this.
It must have. Yeah.
But if I had the choice between Her Majesty's Swarms and this one, despite all my grievances with Her Majesty's Swarm, I would pick it any day.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, on that note, since Terrence, you read a bit more, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Which do you think is more crazy and evil? Her in Villainess Reloaded or Tanya the evil?
You know, it almost feels like this very much does feel like, you know, they definitely read Tanya and then made this, you know, and obviously it's kind of more of a pastiche or whatever. She's just crazy to begin with, because like even when they're having conversations, she's trying to convince like her father that, you know, he should hire a teacher. She's like mumbling under her breath, you know, so I can, you know, use my guns to blow things apart. Like this is before she's used blood magic to remove her consciousness. So I would say maybe she's a little more evil. Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't even call Tanya evil. She's ruthless, but she's not doing any slaughter of civilians. They are not even in the same class of evilness.
Yeah, Tanya is bureaucratic.
She's bureaucratic. She's ruthless. She can put her emotions aside if it's necessary, but she doesn't do any slaughtering of innocent civilians. Never. She always uses her powers against enemy combatants.
That's fair.
Except for this one time when they bombard this one city, but spoilers for later volumes. So not talking about this one.
Not talking about that one. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but if it's an order, you have to follow orders.
Well, still. Alrighty. Okay. Well, you know what? That is good. Thank you, Terrence and Mirage. I really should get myself a J-Novel membership, and so that I can check out some of this stuff too ahead of these podcasts. But I appreciate you guys being here and having checked out some of these titles to give us a little more insight. Admittedly, I always find talking to you guys when you've read some of this stuff, I'm like, man, I'm more interested in reading some of these titles than I was before this started,
point, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you know, and then there's other ones that I'm like, maybe I don't want to ever read that book ever again. Although despite your hesitations, I don't know, I might check this one out with the first volume at least of Lolly Massacre, because I don't know. Just because sometimes I dislike myself. Anyway. Alrighty. So that's all that J-Novel announced on April 2nd in terms of light novels. As I said at the beginning of the show, they also announced the launch of a new imprint called J-Novel Pulp. We're going to talk about that in our next episode, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can have somebody from J-Novel Club on that program, because we want to ask them what the heck. Well, no, I mean, it sounds cool, like a great idea, but I'm just kind of wondering how that idea sort of came about. So, all right. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me in this one. And of course, to you, dear listeners, thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now. For show notes and related links, visit lightnovelpodcast.com.